Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto Naruto Next Generation discussion on the fallout from Boruto Chapter 76. And today, I wanted to shift gears a bit and discuss a suggestion from a patron, which is to look at the future of Boruto Uzumaki in terms of the power that he's poised to gain, potentially before we get to the end of Boruto Part 1. So, as we all know, during the Code of Salt arc, we were dropped a major bombshell regarding the power of Karma and how much more there is to use when it comes to the power of the Karma Seal than we initially thought that there was, which is that the true essence of karma being revealed to give the user the full arsenal of the Otsutsuki who bestowed upon them the power of karma, as well as all the knowledge and fighting experience of their Otsutsuki. Most importantly, we were told that Boruto and Kawaki up until this point in time were merely using karma as an impartial boost in power. That wasn't even drawing out the full power boost of the Karma Seal when you look at what it could have done. The reason why this stood out to so many people is that it marked for the first time the first true concrete sign that there were levels of power awaiting Boruto and Kawaki that we hadn't truly expected, that were going to exceed our previous expectations, with some people even going as far as to say that Boruto's going to surpass Baryon Naruto. Speaking of Naruto, it's in a way very similar to what we saw with Naruto, where we saw glimpses of what Naruto was capable of when he used the Nine Tails power in spurts. After that initial explosion against Haku where Naruto leveled up like crazy, we saw things scale back a bit for Naruto as he gained control of Kurama and learned to use that power gradually, where each time he tapped into more of the Kyuubi's power, things would begin to ramp up a little bit more than we previously expected, and eventually, over the course of several hundreds of chapters, we will build towards Naruto having full mastery of this power just in time for him to fight in some of the biggest battles of his lifetime. I think we're on a similar path here with Boruto, that the battle against Kawaki where Momoshiki was in full control, this might have been Boruto's Haku moment, where we got our first real glance at what a fully in control Boruto could do, while also making note of the fact that there's another ceiling for Boruto to hit. Whereas Naruto had that rage boost in that Haku moment, Boruto got a boost that came from Momoshiki being in the driver's seat and not running low on chakra like he did in the Boro fight, where Momoshiki had to charge up Boruto's battery by using Naruto like he was a Tesla charging station. The amount of power we saw Boruto's body pump out during that fight was just scratching the surface of what he could do, because when Boruto does gain full mastery of this power, it's going to be Boruto stacking that power on top of what his body is able to do naturally, similar to how Naruto would stack the power of the 9 Biju by throwing on his Kyuubi cloak on top of his 6-path Sage mode for another boost in power. However, when we look at what this entails for Boruto, there are other benefits that should come from Boruto gaining Momoshiki's powers. Now that we know this information, this should make him a much more dangerous threat than we initially thought possible, and that's before we start even factoring in the possibility of Boruto being able to use Shinjutsu, which is going to be inevitable. So let's start with the biggest thing here. Boruto harnessing Momoshiki's power does open up the door for him to be able to use powers that we normally associate with Otsutsuki, in particular the earth-based Otsutsuki, which there's a huge difference. That power that I'm referring to is the power of the Truth-Seeking Balls, better known to video game players or to people watching English dub as being the Truth-Seeking Orbs. We haven't seen every Otsutsuki use Truth-Seeking Orbs when you sit down and think about it. The only ones that we've seen them, they all had something in common with each other. They have a direct connection to Earth. In particular, they have a direct connection to Kaguya. Kaguya came to Earth, and in Naruto's manga, we saw that she was able to use that giant expansive Truth-Seeking Orb. Her children, Hagoromo and Hamura, were both able to use Truth-Seeking Orbs. Toneri is a descendant of Kaguya through Hamura's bloodline, and Toneri used the Truth-Seeking Orbs once he gained the Tenseigan. While it's easy to say Toneri only got the Truth-Seeking Orbs because of the Tenseigan Chakra Mode, it's important to look at the fact that the Tenseigan Chakra Mode itself still has a connection to Earth that directly connects back to Kaguya, because it comes from the Otsutsuki transplanting the Byakugan of a Hyuga, who are the clan descendants of Kaguya herself, in order to awaken that said Tenseigan. Hamura was the only Otsutsuki to naturally awaken the Tenseigan himself, which again, we have to go back to Kaguya and wonder, is there something special about her, and in particular her bloodline? The only Ten-Tailed Jinchuriki that we ever saw, they all came from acquiring the power of the 9 Biju. Those Biju were created by Hagoromo. Hagoromo is the child of Kaguya. Now we have Boruto, who's part Hyuga, and he's got Momoshiki's karma. It isn't crazy to say that Boruto is going to awaken some extra power that was not accounted for by a Yamato, because Boruto can trace his lineage directly back to Kaguya, whereas Kawaki, as a vessel of Ishiki, can't do the same. Again, this is assuming that even though Kaguya was a subordinate to Ishiki, there's still something special about her based off of the folklore that inspired Kaguya's character. I do think this is the case, and I think Amato's line that Boruto and Kawaki have more Otsutsuki powers they've yet to awaken is a step in the first direction towards that, because we've not seen every Otsutsuki use truth-seeking orbs, only the ones that have some type of connection to Kaguya herself. Boruto with those truth-seeking orbs, it could be something absolutely nasty, because in a very sneaky way, he's just as creative as his father was when it comes to using ninjutsu in terms of his ninja arsenal in unorthodox ways. We saw Naruto mixing in jutsu with his truth-seeking orbs. The idea of Boruto potentially mixing a compression Rasengan infused with a truth-seeking orb and shooting it off like a Rasengan is something that is mouth-watering in terms of level of destructive potential. However, while Boruto's body being 100% Otsutsuki now, since Momoshiki used his remaining data to repair Boruto's organs after Kawaki killed him, it might eliminate the possibility of him awakening his own Byakugan naturally from his own genetics. If there is an off chance that Boruto does awaken that Byakugan like he so wanted to, a backdoor path to Boruto doing what Hamura did by awakening a Tensegan naturally, it doesn't seem like the craziest outcome, which means acquiring something like a Tensegan chakra mode. But let's look at other aspects what Boruto could be getting. While I don't see Boruto gaining Momoshiki's Rinnegan, it still strikes me as odd that Boruto just has the basic Byakugan when he taps into a certain percentage of Momoshiki's power, yet Kawaki was able to tap into the superior dojutsu of Ishiki with that officially unnamed dojutsu that Kawaki and Jigen both got from Ishiki. If one is able to use a stronger dojutsu of their Otsutsuki, it stands to reason that the other vessels should be able to do the same. Karma is supposed to give access to all knowledge and skills of the Otsutsuki, not just a power buff, and that Rinnegan should fall under that category at some point, though if we continue with the route of Boruto's story, continuing that theme of breaking free of that cycle of Samsara, it's possible we just skip that stance altogether and he never gains access to it, because the Rinnegan is a representation of Samsara itself. The ability to make chakra weapons, it's there in theory. While it's only something that we saw Momoshiki do when he fused with Kinshiki, it's also important to note that what we call fused Momoshiki, it isn't exactly a fusion. It was Momoshiki eating Kinshiki and taking his data into himself to update his body. Kinshiki became part of Momoshiki's genetics. The idea of Boruto being able to make chakra weapons, it would come in handy in battle, further making Tenten's specialty of summoning weapons feel way more useless by the day. The idea of Boruto being able to use more Momoshiki's powers that we've seen in other mediums like the light novels, where Momoshiki did exactly what Kage did in her fight against Naruto and Sasuke, which is start drawing on the power from other dimensions in order to power up even further. Momoshiki, after fusing with Kinshiki, started to draw in power from another dimension in order to power himself up, because of the collective of Naruto and Sasuke, despite not being at full power, it was something that he acknowledged was something approaching him as an equal, and it scared him because he knew that he was close to death despite Kinshiki's power up. We've already seen Boruto teleport Ishiki to one of Momoshiki's dimensions off Earth. It stands to reason that Boruto at some point in time should be able to draw in power from those other dimensions as well. The same with being able to literally freeze an entire battlefield by releasing his chakra to freeze everything to absolute zero. The same with being able to absorb jutsu and combine the various jutsu that he absorbed for that Reign of the High Emperor jutsu that combines the destructive power of the various jutsu Momoshiki absorbs and magnifies them to a level beyond what they were in their original form, making Boruto basically take jutsu and put them on steroids, especially when you start combining chakra natures. Boruto using Momoshiki's knowledge of chakra means they should be able to do what Sasuke has experimented with doing, which is something that you've seen in some of the novels, and you actually saw him do it in manga format in the Sasuke Retsuden manga, which is recreate an imitation of a Kekkei Genkai, but in case of Boruto, due to Momoshiki having a higher understanding of chakra than Sasuke, it stands to reason he should be able to outright recreate Kekkei Genkai, because as Amato said, ninjutsu, which would include Kekkei Genkai themselves, like say Scorch Release, they're mere imitations of Shinjutsu, and Momoshiki has knowledge of all Shinjutsu of the Otsutsuki clan. However, with that being said, I do think we can agree the most likely thing that we can start seeing Boruto start tapping into is Momoshiki's knowledge of Shinjutsu, and Boruto begins starting to add that to his arsenal. Their relationship, this is very important to note, their relationship is no longer parasitic anymore like it was previously, where Momoshiki stood to gain everything and Boruto basically nothing. This relationship with Boruto has evolved into being more of a symbiotic relationship where both of them stand to gain something from the relationship itself. Momoshiki needs Boruto to stay alive in order to stay attached to this whole world of the living. If Boruto dies, then Momoshiki's soul ceases to exist. Boruto, on the other hand, needs Momoshiki to survive. He needs that extra power to survive the threats that are coming. And Boruto also stands to benefit from Momoshiki needing Boruto to stay alive. That means sharing knowledge. We've seen Momoshiki take Boruto's jutsu and that knowledge and use them in battle. It's time for Boruto to start doing the same, and Momoshiki just showed us that he has a lot more knowledge than even Boruto expected. I think Momoshiki has begun to realize this because he seems alarmed that their thoughts are beginning to cross over now. I think there's something to this because Boruto is going to be doing more than just flying around like a normal Suzuki. There's some other form of power coming at this point in the story, or at the bare minimum later on down the line. And honestly, with how casually Code was able to reform the Ten Tails into soldiers, if a failed vessel can do something like that Hagoromo needed the creation of all things in order to pull off, it stands to reason that a true vessel has more powers of an Otsutsuki that they can use. That being said, I'm curious to know you guys' thoughts on this. What Otsutsuki powers do you think Boruto stands to inherit? While you think that over, click here to watch this Naruto Explained video, or click here to watch something from my Kryptonian Saiyan channel.